I only took a little money from your card, my sister texted. Hours later, $3,400 vanished from my account. Mom said, "Don't be petty, it's family." I did one quiet thing. At 8 a.m., she logged into her email and let out a scream that echoed down the street. I didn't even realize I had no money until I stopped to get gas. My card was declined. Twice. At first I thought it was some kind of glitch. I had just been paid 2 days ago. My balance should have been around $3,400. I checked my phone, still standing at the gas station, and opened my banking app. Balance, $21.04. And just then, as planned, a text message from my sister Amanda popped up. "I just took a little money off your card. Don't panic." My hands went cold. I just stood there, phone in one hand, gas tank in the other, this weird ringing in my ears. What did she do? I got in the driver's seat, opened my recent transactions and scrolled through them. Dozens of payments. $12.99 here, $45.76 there, $300 transferred to someone named Ash, and a big one, $2,950 for Graymore University. My sister's college. She stole almost everything I had. And the worst part? I wasn't even surprised. I was just numb. Amanda always had this way of getting what she wanted. Even when we were kids, she would cry to my mom, twist the story, and suddenly I was the one apologizing. Even when she messed up. That habit never changed. A few months ago, I had covered a small shortfall in her tuition. Everything was fine then and I didn't hesitate. She promised to pay me back. She never did. But last month I told her that things were different. I was behind on rent, working 2 jobs and barely making my car payments. I told her that there was nothing else I could do to help. I was free. He did it anyway. I called her. No answer. I texted her. Nothing. Called my mom. She answered on the second call and I told her exactly what had happened. She didn't ask if I was okay. She didn't ask why Amanda thought this was even remotely acceptable. Instead she said, "Betty, don't be petty. This is family. Amanda needed help with her studies. You know how hard it was for her." I just sat in the car, staring out at the gas station parking lot, trying to make sense of what it was like. When I was mugged by my own sister, they ignored me like I was overreacting. I always cared about Amanda. Always. I was the one who paid for her driving lessons. I was the one who bought her books every semester because my mom said she didn't have enough money. And I never complained. But now that I needed support, I was told to stop being petty. That was when something changed. I didn't scream. I didn't threaten. I just logged into the tuition portal later that evening. My card was saved from the last time I helped her. I went straight to the payment section and clicked Cancel Future Payment. In 48 hours, unless another payment method was provided, her enrollment would be frozen. I didn't text Amanda. I didn't warn her. I just went to bed. And the next morning at exactly 8 a.m. she logged into her student email. She screamed so loud that her neighbors across the street could hear her. That was just the beginning. I didn't even need to check my phone to know the moment she saw it. The first message came in at 8:03 a.m. "Amanda, what the hell did you do? Amanda, why would you cancel my tuition? Amanda, do you realize what you've done? Amanda, call me right now." Then came Mom. "Mom, Betty, tell me this is some kind of mistake." "Mom, Amanda just got an email from the registrar. They froze her classes. Mom, you need to fix this." "Mom, immediately." I didn't reply. I was on the train to work, standing with one hand gripping the pole and my phone in the other. I was calm, which surprised me. No guilt. No second guessing. I'd been pushed too far and this time I pushed back. Quietly but hard enough to finally be heard. By 9:15 a.m., I had 6 missed calls from Amanda and 3 from my mom. No voicemails. Just that frantic silence people use when they expect you to cave. They'd never expected me to push back. Ever. Around noon, I got a new message from Amanda. "Amanda, you're actually evil. Like there's something wrong with you. Amanda, I'm literally about to be kicked out. Amanda, if you don't fix this by the end of the day, I swear to God. Amanda, Mom says you've always been jealous of me." I didn't respond. I was eating my lunch in the break room when the next message hit. "Mom, Betty, we need to talk. Come home tonight. We'll figure this out as a family." That word, family, was starting to sound like a trap. They only used it when I was expected to sacrifice something. But still, part of me hoped maybe they were ready to actually listen. So I went. It was a mistake. The second I stepped into the house, I knew. Amanda was sitting on the couch like a queen waiting for her servant to grovel. Mom stood by the fireplace, arms crossed, furious but calm in that icy way she always reserved for me. Nobody asked how I was doing. Nobody asked why I did it. They went straight to accusations. Mom said I was being cruel, that I was endangering Amanda's future, that I'd crossed a line and should be ashamed. I told them the truth. Amanda stole from me. I gave her chances. I warned her. I had $21 left in my account and no groceries. And instead of apologizing, she mocked me with a text. Amanda rolled her eyes. Mom said I should have handled it privately and not lashed out. Then Mom said the words I'll never forget. She said, "You are no longer my daughter. Get out of this house." I didn't cry. I didn't yell. I just turned around and left. They didn't follow me. Not a single step. And just like that, I was alone. But this time, I wasn't going to stay quiet anymore. That night, I slept on a friend's couch with a backpack of clothes and my phone on silent. I had nothing. No home, no money, no support. But for the first time in years, I wasn't carrying anyone else's weight. I felt wrecked, sure, but free in a way I hadn't expected. Amanda and Mom kept texting, but I stopped reading them. By the next morning, things had escalated. My mom had posted some vague, guilt-ridden nonsense on Facebook about how some people forget where they come from and how family should always come first. It was clearly about me. And it worked. Her friends jumped in with all the usual takes. Kids these days have no respect. College is so expensive, poor Amanda. And my personal favorite, Betty should be ashamed. They didn't know the whole story. They never did. Amanda was always the favorite, the one who could do no wrong. I was the one who kept the bills paid and stayed invisible. But the part they didn't know? My dad was coming home that night. He'd been on a work trip overseas, something to do with expanding a logistics contract in Germany. He barely checked his phone while he was gone. Didn't know any of this had happened. That evening around 6 p.m. I got a call from him. I answered. He didn't say hello. He asked one question. What happened? I told him everything. Every word. No dramatics. No begging. Just the truth. He didn't interrupt once. There was a long silence. Then he said, "Come to the house." Now. I hesitated. He said again, "Come." I'd never heard that tone from him before. When I walked in the front door, Amanda was sitting on the stairs. Mom was in the kitchen. Both of them looked pale. Like something had already happened. And it had. Dad had already gone through Amanda's bank statements. His name was still tied to her college account. He'd called the school. He saw the payment was canceled and heard why. And then he saw the stolen charges from my card. He didn't scream. He didn't raise his voice. But what he did, he slapped Amanda. One clean, open-handed slap across the face. None of us had ever seen him do that before. Not once. Amanda froze. Mom screamed. I just stood there. Then he turned to Mom and said the one thing I never thought I'd hear come out of his mouth. All these years I thought we were raising 2 daughters. But clearly we raised one. He pointed at me. And spoiled the other into thinking the world owes her everything. Mom tried to defend Amanda, but he cut her off. You supported her stealing from her sister. You threw Betty out of her own home. You disgust me. And then he turned to me. You're not going anywhere. This is still your house too. I didn't even know what to say. Amanda started sobbing. Mom looked like she'd been slapped too. But me. I just sat down on the couch and listened to the quiet unraveling of everything I thought was permanent. The dynamic had shifted. Finally. But the damage was done. That night was the first time I'd sat in that living room and actually felt seen. My dad didn't say much after that. He went upstairs without another word. The silence that followed was so heavy. Amanda ended up locking herself in her room. Mom sat stiff in the kitchen staring at nothing. I should have felt satisfied. Vindicated maybe. But all I felt was empty. I didn't sleep in my old room. I couldn't. Not after what had been said to me in this house. I just sat in the guest room, awake until the sky started turning pale. At 6:20 a.m. I left without waking anyone up. Over the next few days I moved back into my apartment with help from my friend Lisa. Dad offered to help cover what Amanda stole. I told him no. I didn't want anything else tied to them. I froze my card, changed all my passwords and filed a fraud report with my bank just so I had it on record. Amanda was officially on academic hold. She begged the university to give her time, but without the payment her schedule was wiped and she lost access to her student portal. Dad refused to pay a cent. Mom tried to go around him with money from their joint savings, but he shut that down too. Completely. And then the real fracture happened. One afternoon, Dad came by my apartment. He brought food. Nothing dramatic, just a quiet lunch like nothing had ever happened. Halfway through he asked if I'd be willing to talk with Amanda and Mom, to clear the air, as he put it. I told him something I don't think he expected to hear. I don't want them in my life right now. He didn't push back. He just nodded, took a long breath and said he understood. A week later he moved into the small guest house behind our property. Said it was temporary, but everyone knew what it really was. Amanda's school tried emailing him a few times directly, asking for payment clarification. He ignored every single one. Mom kept texting me. Not to apologize. Not once. Just demands. Please don't. Comments about how I'd turned Dad against his own family. And then she crossed the line again. She showed up at my job. It was subtle at first. Just waiting in the parking lot. Then standing outside the coffee shop across the street during my lunch break. One day she came into the office building and asked the front desk if she could speak to me, for just a moment. I walked past her like I didn't know her. She stopped trying after that. But Amanda didn't. She started posting online, cryptic little quotes about betrayal, sisters, blood ties. Enough that a few of her college friends DM'd me asking if something had happened. I didn't reply to any of them. The final straw came a month later. I got a letter in the mail. Handwritten. From Amanda. It wasn't an apology. It was a request. She wanted me to ask Dad to forgive her. Said she'd learned her lesson and didn't deserve to be cut off. She said she missed being a family. That it wasn't fair how far things had gone. She ended it with, "You've made your point. Now fix this." And that's when I knew, really knew, it was never about being sorry. It was about getting away with it. There was no fixing this. I didn't write Amanda back. I didn't even finish reading the letter. I threw it in a drawer and left it there, buried under some takeout menus and old receipts. That drawer felt like the right place for it. Forgotten, messy, and out of sight. A week passed. Then things quieted down. Mom stopped texting. Amanda stopped posting. I knew it wasn't peace. They were just regrouping, figuring out the next way to guilt me back into the old dynamic. But I didn't care. I was working extra hours, slowly rebuilding my savings and focusing on myself for the first time in years. Then one Saturday morning, Dad showed up again. No warning. Just knocked, holding a coffee and a bag of bagels. He sat down, looked around, and said, "Nice place. Quiet." We ate without much small talk. Then he reached into his jacket pocket and pulled out a folded piece of paper. It was a printout. An email chain between him and Mom. She had gone behind his back again. This time trying to secretly open a new account in Amanda's name using his credentials to get a private student loan. She'd forged his digital signature. He caught it because the confirmation email hit his personal inbox instead of the shared one she used. He didn't report her. Yet. But he was done. "I'm filing for legal separation," he said. I didn't respond. "I don't want you in the middle of it," he added. "But I need you to know what she's still trying to do." Amanda had gone back to living like nothing had changed. Still didn't have a job. Still expected everyone else to fix her messes. And Mom was enabling her like she always had. But now the damage was bigger. Now it wasn't just me they'd turned on, it was him too. I asked him if he still talked to Amanda. He shook his head. "She hasn't spoken to me since I said no." That told me everything. There were people in my life now who didn't know the full story. New coworkers, neighbors, people who thought my family was probably close. I let them think that. Easier that way. But sometimes on really quiet nights I'd lie awake and wonder how it got to this point. How Amanda, my sister, could rob me blind and still think I was the villain for saying no. The worst part was, there were no big fights before it all happened. No explosions. Just years of little things. Little manipulations. Little moments of silence when Mom should have spoken up. Little times I covered for Amanda because I thought that's what sisters were supposed to do. It all added up. And now we weren't family anymore. Not really. Not in any way that mattered. 3 months went by. No calls. No letters. No run-ins. I thought maybe finally they'd accepted it, that I'd built enough distance for it all to stay behind me. But that illusion shattered one morning with a knock at my apartment door. It was Amanda. Hair tied back like she hadn't slept. Hoodie, no makeup. Her eyes darted past me like she was expecting someone else to be there. Maybe Dad. Maybe Mom. I don't know. She didn't say hi. She just asked, "Can I come in?" I didn't move. I didn't answer. So she said it. "I'm pregnant." Just like that. I stared at her, waiting for the part where she explained why she was telling me. But she didn't. She just stood there watching my reaction like she was trying to figure out which angle to take. When I didn't respond, she continued. "It's not like I planned this. But things are different now. I'm trying to grow up. I'm trying to be better." I kept my hand on the doorknob. She wasn't invited in. She looked past me again. "I've got nothing, Betty. Mom can't help. Dad won't even speak to me. I'm not asking for a handout, just," she hesitated, then switched tones, "just some support. Like a sister." That word. Support. Like all the money, patience, and silence I'd given before had meant nothing. She tried to play the sympathy card. The redemption arc. But something in her tone, it wasn't real. It was survival. She didn't come because she wanted to make things right. He came because she was out of options. I said one sentence before I closed the door. "You made your choice. Live with it." She didn't knock again. Just stood there for a minute, then walked down the hallway and disappeared into the stairwell. I don't know what happened to her after that. I heard through my dad a month later that she moved in with some guy she barely knew. Mom apparently stayed in contact, but they weren't speaking much. Dad finalized the separation. He and I talk regularly now. We even spent Thanksgiving together, just the two of us. No drama, no shouting. Just peace. And it made me realize something. I didn't lose my family. I lost people who only called themselves that. I still have a family. It just looks different now. It's smaller, quieter, and harder to find, but it's real. And that's enough.